can't see you. It's very dark back there. That's suspect. Y'all have to behave in the back there, all right? That sounded like somebody I know and love. Welcome, everyone, both here physically and virtual, to the Military Women's Memorial this morning. Thank you so very much for joining us today to honor America's servicewomen, past and present. And thank you, OptumServe, for joining us as our corporate partner in making this event possible. Let me also thank the Surgeon General of the Army, Lieutenant General Scott Dingell and Mrs. Dingell, for joining us today to celebrate America's service women. I am retired Army Chief Warrant Officer 5, Phyllis Wilson, and I am enormously proud to be the president of the Military Women's Memorial, the very place where America says thanks to the military women. Words can never express the gratitude I feel every day to lead the Military Women's Memorial, the nation's only major memorial that honors the 3 million women that have defended this nation. And I am humbled to count myself among these legions of women and embrace the words of Marine Corps Lance Corporal Janice Hodge, who said, "I'm not a hero or anything of great interest, but the years that I served helped to protect our country and preserve peace. I am very proud to have served." Now this next one, I'm getting a little older. So I also embrace the words of World War II Women's Army Corps Corporal Nancy Hinchcliffe, who said, "If somebody came to me today and said they're taking old women, I'd go with them today." So this is the day we come together to show our appreciation for military women's service to our nation. From the very earliest days as we fought to gain our nation's independence to the national security challenges we face today, women have served. Their individual and collective contributions have been and are critical to our national defense. 73 years ago today, President Truman signed Public Law 625, the Women's Armed Services Integration Act, which gave women a permanent place in the United States military, arguably one of the most consequential pieces of legislation related to women's military service in our entire history. While a major breakthrough for military women, its provisions would also have a major impact on the way women would serve until 2016, nearly 70 years later, and the impacts were not always positive. For example, women could only be 2% of the military force. The highest grade a woman could achieve was 05, lieutenant colonel or commander. Now, they could be temporarily appointed to 06 if they were serving as a chief of the women's component. But if they returned to any other position within the military, they returned back to the rank of 05. Women were prohibited from serving aboard combat ships and aircraft, which the services interpreted as all ships and aircraft, except those related to the medical arena. And this did not change until the mid-1990s. And there were other provisions relating to ground combat and rules prohibiting benefits to dependents such as housing and allowances, and mandatory discharge if you became pregnant while in the service. Nonetheless, the Women's Armed Services Integration Act was landmark legislation and was a significant crack that would eventually break wide open that glass ceiling. Thank goodness. So today, we celebrate the foresightedness and wherewithal of folks like Congresswoman Margaret Chase Smith, Generals Bradley, Eisenhower, and Vandenberg, and Admiral Denfield, who shaped and led that legislative effort. And the courage and persistence of women like Women's Army Corps Director, Colonel Mary Halloran, and Navy Wave Director, Captain Joy Bright Hancock, who stood up against the naysayers. We are in good company today, as 11 states across the country have recognized the importance of Women's Armed Service Integration Act and Servicewomen's Extraordinary Contributions by designating June 12th as Women Veterans Day. Even the Barclays Building in Times Square is showing its pride in America's military women by featuring today a day-long collage of images and shout-outs to our servicewomen. So happy that Women Veterans Appreciation Day is recognized. Along with all the accolades and tributes to the selfless service of America's military women comes the serious side of military service and the nation's obligation to the health and well-being of these women, because addressing servicewomen's health is a matter of national trust, as well as national defense and readiness. That is why the Military Women's Memorial is proud to use the 73rd anniversary of the event to showcase the remarkable contributions during peace and war of America's military women, to highlight the obligations of a grateful nation for their health and well-being, and to bring together the government, the military, veteran service organizations, and the private sector to meet those obligations. I'm honored to introduce our first speaker, retired Army Lieutenant General Patricia D. Horoho. General Horoho, oh wait, I can't just do that. You gotta wait 2 pages for her, so sorry. She's kinda a big deal. General Horoho is the Chief Executive Officer of OptumServe and the end-to-end federal business of Optum and United Health Group. Under her leadership, OptumServe emerged as the nationally recognized thought leader for its expertise in the management of COVID-19 testing, and now serves as the operational arm for United Health Group's philanthropic support to citizens living in vulnerable communities. The General's distinguished professional career includes 33 years of military service, culminating as the 43rd Surgeon General of the Army, and at the same time, because that wasn't enough, she was the Commanding General of the United States Army Medical Command, and she's an expert in healthcare transformation, probably transportation too, it's logistics, right? For all the logisticians in the house, transportation. She does. She moved the entire, see, it moved. She moved the entire Army medicine organization from a disease model of care to a system for health, implementing groundbreaking and long-lasting initiatives. She has served and led during pivotal moments in Army medicine and in defense of the nation. She's a combat veteran, a distinguished professor at the Uniformed Services University of Health Sciences Graduate School of Nursing, the recipient of many, many, many honors from both the private and public sector. I won't read them because we'd be here till tomorrow, as well as many military awards and decorations. I've had the distinct pleasure of knowing General Horoho as a military colleague and friend for several years. And for nearly as many years, we've been talking about a distinctive item that distinguishes those women who've worn the uniform of our nation. We'll learn a little bit more about that later. So without further delay, I'm honored to invite to the podium, representing the private sector arm of Women's Health, the CEO of OptumServe, retired General, Army Lieutenant General Patty Horoho, who is also a member of the Military Women's Memorial. You could have just said
You know, I always think it's a sign that you're getting older when they announce you, and it goes on and on and on. It just means you're just old. But thank you, Phyllis. You're like beyond gracious, so thank you. Good morning, everybody. I am so excited to be here, and I feel like it's just a lifelong dream for all of us to come together to have this moment. So thank you for being here today. You know, and as Phyllis has said, with the marking of the 73rd anniversary of then President Harry S. Truman signing the Women's Armed Service Integration Act into law, I'm thrilled to look into this audience and see so many familiar faces from throughout my career joining us to celebrate this special day for our sister in arms. Women and men who were mentors and colleagues, continue to be friends, are out here today. And I'd like to welcome and recognize the 45th U.S. Army Surgeon General and the U.S. Army Medical Commander, Lieutenant General Scotty Dingle, and his lovely wife, Sonia. Love ya. Thank you. I'm also proud to introduce First Lieutenant Johnny Horoho, who is my son, and Maggie Horoho, who's my daughter. Thank you both for always supporting me. And I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize Ann Campbell and Karen Havelson, so thank you very much. Also joining us today are many other women who have chosen careers in the military. Their bravery, their heroism, their compassion, their selfless service is beyond commendable. And while all are deserving of our gratitude, there's one very special woman with us today that I would like all of you to join me in recognizing. Born over 82 years ago, she was one of 9 children. She grew up in my beloved home state of North Carolina and lived on a tobacco farm in Wake County. She was the first woman to receive her master's degree in military arts and sciences from the United States Army Command and General Staff College. She is also the first African-American Nurse Corps officer to graduate from the United States Army War College. When she retired 28 years ago, she was serving as the commanding officer of Fort Belvoir, a non-nursing role. So please join me in honoring Brigadier General, known as General Clara, Adam Zender. Love ya. And at 82 years old, she was out there giving shots for COVID during this period of time. So be careful on your way out because she may just be shooting you whether you've had it or not. But my humblest thank you for all of you for coming here today and showing your support of our military men and women. Because of this law, I can proudly say that I'm a veteran. I was privileged to have served in the United States Army for more than 33 years, following the footsteps of brave women who served before me. During my career, I had the honor to serve as the 43rd U.S. Army Surgeon General and the commander of the Medical Command. In both of these positions, I witnessed the very best of young men and women who raised their right hand to support our democracy. With military service comes a great deal of pride and camaraderie. And I recall the sense of pride my father, who served in World War II, Korea, and Vietnam, had when he'd be out. And someone would recognize the baseball cap that he had with the 3 insignias of the war. And invariably, someone would come up and say, thank you for his service. It was these moments that my dad would sit up a little taller in his wheelchair. He'd hold his head a little higher and he'd smile a little wider. You could see the pride on his face when he was recognized for his service. Those moments also brought me and my family a sense of joy and pride that even years after his service, he was still honored for serving his country. And so it weighed heavy on my heart for years, more than 15 years, that there was nothing comparable for female veterans and active duty military to wear that would show others they too have served or are serving our country. That was my purpose in working with the acclaimed jeweler, Ann Han, there's no one that I have to explain who Ann Han is, worldwide. But in creating the brooch I'm proudly wearing today, and which we will be unveiling later in this program, this brooch represents the women of valor who proudly have worn or wear the uniform of our country. The brooch is a forget-me-not flower that is purple to represent a composite of all military branches of service, signifying joint service. At the center of the brooch is a beautiful pearl that represents femininity and the center star and the V on the tips of the leaves represents valor. I am incredibly proud and grateful that we are able to introduce this beautiful brooch as a symbol of respect and gratitude for our military women and veterans. The power of a simple thank you serves as a human connection with others. And it is through that connection that we are honored as someone who has served this country. Perhaps more importantly, in that moment, we are sisters in arms, truly seen by others, which leads to tremendous healing as it fosters unity and a sense of belonging. I hope this brooch will also serve as a conversation starter. You each have a story to tell others, and you must all realize how your story may change and inspire a young girl or a young boy to follow in your footsteps. Whether it is a younger relative who may look at you as a mentor or a casual meeting in which you can offer guidance to someone else at a critical point in their life. As we all know, our service to others does not end when we take our uniform off for the last time. A commitment to a person's health journey also does not end when we leave the military. Throughout my career, I was motivated by the bravery of military women and men to transition from a disease model of care to a system for health. During active duty, servicemen and women must be at their peak performance for optimal health. This was especially important when looking at the military through the lens of a woman. The impact of deployment on a female soldier, sailor, and Marine is unique. Even common hygiene practices can become complicated for women on the battlefield. Women are a fundamental and expanding part of our nation's military, representing about 16% of active duty military personnel. We must grow our understanding of the challenges and the opportunities facing servicemen in an effort to better support them. This commitment to improve the health of our veterans and active duty military remains a paramount concern as the CEO of OptumServe. I recognize that we have the unique privilege and immense privilege of being part of this health journey. We're committed to continuing helping women and men lead healthy lives after they transition back to civilian life. As more women choose to serve this country, it becomes imperative that we support women's health with whole person model of care, which means mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, financially, and vocationally. A great nation such as ours needs to recognize the sacrifices of those who defend our freedoms each and every day. Please also remember to honor and recognize your fellow veterans. All of us share a common bond that is unique and very special. You may never know the profound difference you make in another's life at the moment when it's needed most. An expression of gratitude can and will mean a great deal to those who are recognized. That is why today, on this very special Women's Veterans Day, I want to thank all of you who have bravely served our country or are serving, and to your families who have served through their sacrifice and unwavering support. May God bless you. May God bless the United States of America. Serving together, honored to serve. Thank you.
Sorry, my water was not by my chair, and I asked him to move it up here. Patty, thank you so very much for your service to the nation, both as a military member and now, of course, as the CEO of OptumServe. Now it's my distinct privilege to invite to the podium Ms. Deborah Kramer, whose presence today represents the government sector arm for women's health. Deb Kramer was appointed as the Acting Assistant Undersecretary for Health Support in the Veterans Health Administration in March 2020. In this role, she serves as the principal advisor to the Undersecretary and Deputy Undersecretary for Health and is responsible for leading the Veterans Health Administration's healthcare environment and facilities programs, procurement and logistics, healthcare technology management, the Veterans Canteen Service, and the VA's Logistics Redesign Program. Do you ever sleep? She has served with the VA since 2012 in a number of leadership roles, and prior to that, she was the Chief Medical Systems Acquisition at the Joint Program Executive Office for Chemical and Biological Defense in the Department of Defense. She is a charter member of the Military Women's Memorial, former active duty Army Medical Service Corps officer, but she began her military career as an enlisted combat medic and operating room technician. A combat veteran, she served with the 85th Evacuation Hospital during the First Gulf War. Please welcome Ms. Deb Kramer.
Phyllis, Lieutenant General Horoho, Representative, I know you're distinguished guests, veterans, family, friends, and on behalf of Secretary McDonough, I'm honored to present affairs and thanks to the Secretary, Ms. Wilson, and to the Military Women's Memorial for inviting us to participate in today's celebration. Lieutenant General Horoho, hooah! Well, I was not on active duty when it became the 43rd Army. So please know I was cheering. I left active duty in 1996, and I remember very well hearing in conversations with my fellow officers that a woman would never be the Surgeon General of the Army in our lifetimes. And so timely away. Representative Brownlee, of women veterans at the forefront. We look forward to continue to advance our expansion of gender-specific healthcare services and programs.
Switch out the mic.
We might want to switch out the mic.
Wherever it is.
Your words were so powerful, you blew them up.
There we go. Okay. Sorry. Here you go.
That is why I don't use a wireless keyboard. So let me start again with Representative Brownlee. Thank you for your tireless work in keeping the needs of women veterans at the forefront. We look forward to working with you to continue to advance our expansion of gender-specific healthcare services and programs. Women have always played a role in our nation's military conflicts, and I think it's fair to say that women fought their way into the U.S. military. I can think of no better example to offer than Harriet Tubman. Known more for her service with the Underground Railroad, during the Civil War, Harriet Tubman served with the Union Army as a spy and a scout, often behind enemy lines. In June of 1863, she became the first woman to lead U.S. military troops into battle, traveling up South Carolina's Combahee River to destroy bridges, raid Confederate outposts, and cut the Confederate supply lines. Today, thanks to the 1948 Women's Armed Service Integration Act and the 3 million women who served in every conflict since the Revolutionary War, the opportunities available to the 220,000 military women guarding our freedom today is broader. The number of women veterans using VA healthcare services has tripled since 2001, up to over 550,000 today, and that number is increasing. In the past 5 years, we women veterans accounted for over 30% of the increase in new veteran enrollment, and we are the fastest growing veteran demographic. Now, to talk about healthcare, how we take care of you after you've served, I'd like to highlight a few of the healthcare services that VA offers to women. If you're not enrolled and you just need to get started, consider enrolling in our Women's Health Transition Training. The training teaches women veterans and those still serving about healthcare services eligibility requirements. And it teaches you how to connect with other women veterans across a host of women-specific networks and programs. We've enhanced the quality of care for women veterans. Today, every VA medical center has at least 2 designated women's health primary care providers. 90% of our community-based outpatient clinics have at least one, and we're hiring more primary care women's health providers over the next 2 years. VA provides gynecologic services, and we provide maternity services through care in the community. Our maternity care coordinators help pregnant veterans navigate maternity-related healthcare services inside and outside VA. If infertility is a challenge, we offer infertility services to all veterans enrolled in VA healthcare. In vitro fertilization is now available to certain service-connected veterans and their legal spouses. We've helped over 850 couples with IVF treatment so far. Expansion infertility care, including assisted reproductive technology, is part of the recent initiative by Representative Brownlee to expand service eligibility to any veteran and/or partner who needs infertility care to achieve a pregnancy. So thank you, Representative Brownlee. Access to mental health care is critically important. Over the past decade, the number of women veterans taking advantage of VA mental health care has doubled to nearly 230,000. Women veterans are tapping into our full continuum of mental health services. This includes general and specialty outpatient care, residential treatment, and inpatient treatment. And you should know that half of our mental health providers are women. If a women veteran doesn't like mixed gender or group therapy settings, we have alternatives, including individual therapy and telemental health. And we can also refer you to one of our 300 vet centers, an absolutely incredibly convenient therapy option for veterans, active duty service members, including Guard and Reserve, and their families. I do need to talk on military sexual trauma. About 1 in 3 women report experiencing MST when a VA healthcare provider screens them. We are committed to ensuring women and men veterans who experienced MST have the services they need in recovery. We provide free treatment for any mental or physical health condition related to MST. We have MST coordinators at every VA healthcare system, and eligibility for MST-related care is broad. There are no service length requirements, no income requirements, no document requirements, no reporting requirements. And if a veteran did not report the MST when it happened, that's okay. We're still going to take care of you. Treatment is available to veterans and most former service members with other than honorable discharges. And even if a veteran is not eligible for other VA care, they may be eligible for MST-related care. And for anyone not ready to engage in MST-related care, we have an app, Beyond MST. It's a free app for survivors and allies to learn about MST recovery and VA's treatment resources. A last word on healthcare. I can't talk about healthcare without talking about COVID vaccinations. We're offering COVID vaccinations to you, your spouses, your kids, and your caregivers, any veteran, anywhere. You don't have to be in the system. Altogether, we vaccinated over 3.2 million people. So if you need your COVID vaccination and you need your COVID vaccination, come to us, we'll take care of you. All of these benefits, services, and initiatives exemplify Secretary McDonough's vision for VA and veterans. It's a vision based on 4 fundamental principles: advocacy, access, outcomes, and excellence. VA is the leading advocate for you, your families, caregivers, and survivors. You made your down payment, sometimes in blood, sometimes in invisible wounds, and your sacrifices earned you the care and services we provide. We owe you timely access to these resources, world-class healthcare, benefits, and a final resting place that's a lasting tribute to your service. Veterans' outcomes, your outcomes and experiences drive everything we do. That's why we measure your trust in us. Veteran trust in VA healthcare rose to 90.1% in May of this year. That's pretty good. We're going to do better. We continually seek excellence in all we do for you, leveraging the strength of diversity that defines the veteran population, our VA workforce, and the nation. That means every person entering a VA facility must feel safe, free of harassment and discrimination. Diversity, equity, inclusion, and access are fundamental to everything we do. That's because in providing the benefits and services you earned, we are honoring all those who have served this nation. Our commitment to women veterans and all veterans has never been stronger. God bless our troops, our veterans, their families, caregivers, and survivors, and may VA always give you our very best. Thank you.
I just have to say, Ms. Kramer, you told me earlier that you were voluntold to do this today, and we've all been voluntold, but the passion in that voice and in that speech was definitely not a voluntold. So thank you so much for being here. I learned a few things about the VA, and they are my primary provider of medical care now, and I did not know some of what you have just shared, so thank you for that. The Honorable Julia Brownlee was first elected to Congress in 2012 to serve as the representative for California's 26th district. She serves on the House Committee on Veterans Affairs, where she strives to ensure the nation provides the services and veterans. Too much energy up here. Yeah. What happens with every plan, sir? I don't know. How is that? Do I need it if I'm close? We're good? Okay, I'm just closer to it. How's that? It fails on first contact every time. Okay. So Julia Brownlee, representative, 26th District, California. She serves as the chairwoman of the House Veterans Affairs Subcommittee on Health. You're breaking up. Give me a new one. Sorry, guys. Okay, we're going to keep going. In this capacity, Representative Brownlee focuses on improving veterans' access to mental and physical health, improving services for female veterans, and helping service members transition from the military to the VA healthcare system. One of her signature achievements was passing her Female Veteran Suicide Prevention Act in 2016, requiring the VA to collect data on women veterans in order to identify best practices, programs, and services to ideally end female veteran suicide. She also secured passage of the Deborah Sampson Act, the most comprehensive legislation for women veterans in a decade. The bill, which was signed into law in January 2021, helps address the inequities and barriers that women veterans face when accessing VA care and benefits. She is the co-chair of the Reinvesting in Our Returning Heroes Task Force and is the founder and chairwoman of the committee's Women Veterans Task Force. She was named Hillvet's Legislator of the Year in 2018, as well as the IT Now Pioneer Award for her work expanding telemedicine at the VA.
Good morning, and thank you for allowing me the opportunity to join you on this Women Veterans Day. I'd like to thank the Military Women's Memorial for their tireless work to honor the women who have served our nation in uniform and for organizing this wonderful event. As you know, women have made incredible contributions to our country and the armed services ever since the Revolutionary War. But their story in history has been a long uphill battle defined by remarkable patriotism and distinguished service in spite of endless obstacles and challenges. During the Revolutionary War, Margaret Corbin and Deborah Sampson were among the first women to serve in combat. During the Civil War, hundreds of women disguised themselves as men to serve in the military, and others served as nurses and spies. The Army Nurse Corps in 1901 and the Navy Nurse Corps in 1908 made women formal members of the armed forces. Women were permitted to volunteer during World War I and enlist for clerical positions. During World War II, women were recruited for non-combat positions, and with the creation of the Women's Army Corps in 1943, could attain military rank and serve overseas. But when women returned back to civilian life, they were not recognized as veterans or given the benefits they earned, though they had served in critical roles during the wars. During the Vietnam War, 265,000 American women bravely served, 11,000 of them overseas. Tens of thousands of women served in the Persian Gulf during Operation Desert Shield and Desert Storm. Today, women make up almost 15% of the active duty military, as well as 20% of the Reserve and National Guard, and continue to serve bravely in Iraq and around the world. But despite their unwavering patriotism, steadfast commitment, and selfless sacrifice in defending our nation, women have faced a long history of structural inequality, both in the military and at VA. As the chairwoman of the Women's Veterans Task Force, I have traveled the country meeting with our women service members and women veterans and listening to their stories. I've been troubled by the gut-wrenching yet all too common stories of assault, harassment, and mistreatment that women in the military face. But I've been touched and encouraged by the strength of the women I have met and by the courage and resilience they have embodied to serve our country despite these obstacles. My goal on the task force has been to identify disparities in access to care and benefits for women veterans and, where necessary, introduce and pass legislation to correct them. I believe our work in Congress has to be threefold. We must recognize our women service members and veterans for their incredible service. We must uncover the inequities they have and continue to face. And we must boldly act to set things right for the women currently serving our country and for those we hope will serve in the future. It is important to draw attention to our women veterans so that the country can understand the historical context of their contributions and the need for change. I was proud that my bill, the Deborah Sampson Act, became law in January. This bill was the most comprehensive piece of legislation aimed at addressing the inequities and barriers that women veterans face when accessing VA care and benefits in more than a decade. By passing this historic legislation, we acted on our commitment to ensure that our nation's 2 million women veterans receive the benefits they have earned and deserve. In this Congress, I have also introduced bills to study and correct the disparity in the cost of women's uniforms and the disgraceful discharging of pregnant service members over a more than 25-year period. It is also important to address the pervasive sexual harassment and assault that has been allowed to fester in our military for far too long, and that has bled over into VA facilities. I'm proud to support my colleague, Congresswoman Jackie Spears' bill, the I Am Vanessa Guillen Act, which will finally take the decision of whether to prosecute sex-related crimes out of the hands of DOD's chain of command and place those decisions with a special prosecutor's office. The bill will also mandate other changes to ensure that sexual assault and harassment are taken much more seriously. I have been glad to see these efforts gain momentum in the past few months. It's far past time that we take bold action to address this scourge on our military. Our nation has made a solemn promise that just as the military pledges to leave no soldier behind on the battlefield, we must leave no veteran behind when they return home. That includes the many women who have served our nation in uniform. This is a promise that we all have a moral responsibility to uphold. On this Women Veterans Day and the 73rd anniversary of the signing of the Women's Armed Services Integration Act, we recommit to fulfilling this promise and ensure that with our collective work, we say to them, we see you, we hear you, and we thank you for your service. Thank you, and may God bless our troops, our veterans, and may God bless this United States of America.
We are immensely grateful to Congresswoman Brownlee for taking the time to record that, and we look forward to welcoming her back here again soon. She was here just last month for a Congressional Women's Caucus wreath laying out front of the memorial. I mentioned earlier that General Horoho and I have been talking for some time about that distinctive item that distinguishes women who've worn the uniform. It's a unique item, and we are going to move forward with that. To bring that vision, as we said, General Horoho has had a past relationship with Ann Hand, and Ms. Hand is the founder, obviously, of Ann Hand LLC. Her designs have been worn by some of the most powerful and influential women and men in the nation. If you watch the inauguration, when Lady Gaga sang the national anthem, that big bird pin on her, I believe that was an Ann Hand. No? No, it wasn't. Oh my goodness. It was beautiful. I wanted it to be yours. In 30 years, Miss and custom jewelry for the White House, the Congressional Medal of Honor Society, the Departments of State, Defense, the Boy Scouts of America, American Red Cross, the Smithsonian, and so many more. She has also designed pieces for 4 presidential libraries. And her work has been highlighted in publications such as Life Magazine, USA Today, The Washington Post, People Magazine, and they've been featured on special segments on NBC's The Today Show. Passionate about telling American history in a wearable art form, Miss Hand's inspiration for her jewelry is drawn from America's rich history. Past and present, she began her business in 1988 working out of a small cottage in the garden of her home, and she opened her salon in Uptown Georgetown in 2001. Please welcome to the stage America's jeweler, Ann Hand. Today, we are especially pleased to reveal for the first time that very special item designed specifically for the some 3 million women who've proudly worn the uniform of our great nation. Ladies and gentlemen, we bring to you the Woman of Valor brooch.
Two short women.
I think it's lovely. And we're going to ask you to just stand tight for a moment while I walk through this. Throughout history, women have worn brooches to make a statement or to represent a cause close to their heart. This brooch was thoughtfully designed to celebrate America's military women and recognize their patriotism, commitment. I need a new, I'm out of microphones up here. Commitment and service to the nation. It identifies the wearer as a member of an exclusive sisterhood. Just be loud. Use that NCO voice that I once had. I'll try. It identifies the wearer as a member of an exclusive system, an American servicewoman, woman of valor. The brooch features that hand-painted enamel forget-me-not flower with purple petals for joint service. At its center, the white pearl represents not only femininity, but also loyalty and integrity. The gold-plated center star and letter V on the tips of the leaves represents the valor. This exquisite brooch signifies recognition of and honor for her service. Thank you, Ann Hand, for your vision and your talent. And thank you for honoring America's military women in this way. It is now my distinct honor and privilege to invite Ms. Hand and General Horaho to present the Woman of Valor brooch to 10 stellar officer and enlisted representatives of each service. Of course. So do I.
As a jeweler, all I could think of is it had to be made out of plaster of Paris. Otherwise, she couldn't have worn that huge piece of metal. Struck.
And you know what Lady Gaga said? She wishes she would have worn her pin as well. so.
Yeah. Maybe we'll get one special made now. Our first recipient is retired Army Captain Dawn Halfacre. Captain Halfacre is a U.S. Military Academy graduate and a former military police officer serving in the United States Army from June 2001 to July 2005. A wounded warrior, she is a combat veteran from the war in Iraq. Dawn's service to the men and women of the military did not end with her military service. She is a strong advocate for veterans and wounded warriors, having served as the chair of the board for the Wounded Warrior Project. Jan, put it away. This is our board chair. This is my board chair. Major General retired Jan Edmonds. Thank you, ma'am. You get a shout out for that. Captain Halfacre is a member of the USO Board of Governors, the Reserve Forces Policy Board, and the Board for Thanks USA, among other boards and organizations. She is the recipient of numerous awards and decorations. Captain Halfacre, we are honored to have you be among the first servicewomen to receive the Woman brooch. Thank you. Oh, we're switching. Command decision down there. It's good. Command Sergeant Major Donna Brock. Sergeant Major Brock retired from the United States Army in 2015 after 36 years of service. A combat medic and combat veteran of the war in Iraq, she has served in a variety of medical settings from clinic to combat support hospital and major medical facilities, and in leadership positions from squad to major command, culminating as the Command Sergeant Major of the United States Army Medical Command and also as a senior enlisted advisor to the Army Surgeon General. Sergeant Major Brock continues to serve our community and veterans in retirement. Among other things, she is a community coach for Together with Veterans, working with rural communities across America to assist in setting up grassroots programs for veteran suicide prevention and education. Thank you, Sergeant Major Brock, for your service. Former Marine Corps Major Catherine Sudhoff. Catherine served in the Marine Corps from 2009 to 2020, a Naval Academy graduate. She was a communications officer and led Marines in an array of jobs and units. She was one of the first women assigned to the 2nd Assault Amphibian Battalion, 2nd Marine Division, and the first woman to have company command in that battalion. A combat veteran of the war in Afghanistan, she was also a Department of Defense Congressional Fellow and is a Harvard Graduate School alumnus. She's the member, that was oohs and ahs. Not about being a Marine, ooh-rah, no, Harvard. She's a member of the Truman National Security Project's Defense Council, and Kate currently serves as Defense Policy Advisor for a member of the U.S. Senate. Thank you, Kate, for your continued service. Retired First Sergeant Vivian Price. Vivian served in the Marine Corps and Marine Corps Reserve from 1979 to 2004. A communications and electronics specialist, she is a combat veteran of the First Gulf War, as well as Operation Iraqi Freedom, serving in Kuwait and Iraq, where she deployed as the first sergeant of her bulk fuel company unit, the first woman to hold that position. Today, she is the commanding officer of the Young Marines of Central Maryland at Kennedy Krieger High School in Baltimore, a junior ROTC program structured youth for children with special needs. It is the only unit of its kind in the country. First Sergeant Price Butler is the 2013 Young Marine National Adult Volunteer of the Year. Thank you, First Sergeant, for your continued service. Retired Navy Nurse Corps Captain Christine Bolts. Christine served from 1980 to 2009. She is a combat veteran of the First Gulf War, deploying with Fleet Hospital 5 to Saudi Arabia. She is also a veteran of Operation Support and Uphold Democracy in Haiti and other contingency operations. Her exemplary service took her from clinical nurse to senior staff executive. She continues to serve in retirement as a School of Nursing adjunct professor, and she's a passionate community volunteer for the Honor Flight Network, the United Service Organization, the USO, and the Navy Nurse Corps Association, where she served as president from 2019 to 2020. Captain Bolts also serves veterans and their families as an Arlington lady at Arlington National Cemetery. Thank you, Captain Bolts, for your service. Retired Navy Command Master Chief Susan Fritz. Susan served in the United States Navy from 1974 to 2004, retiring as the Chief of Naval Operations, Command Master Chief for the Naval District of Washington. A veteran of the First Gulf War, she was selected as the Command Master Chief for Sea Control Squadron 22 and deployed on board the aircraft carrier USS Eisenhower, the first combatant ship with women on board. After retirement, she worked for the Navy, its sailors, and their families as the Deputy Director for Pastoral Services. Today, Command Master Chief Fritz continues her charity work as an ordained deacon in the Episcopal Church. She is the former chairman of the board for Our Place Waldorf, the local soup kitchen, and treasurer and chaplain for Warfighter Advance. Thank you, Command Master Chief Fritz, for your service. Retired Air Force Brigadier General Wilma Vaught. Now, General Vaught really doesn't need much of an introduction here. But just so, if you're not tracking all of it, she is a combat veteran of the war in Vietnam. She served from 1957 to 1985 in a variety of assignments, both in the U.S. and overseas. For many years, she was one of the nation's most highly decorated military women and the only woman for some 22 years to achieve general officer rank in the comptroller field. At the time of her retirement in 1985, she was the senior ranking woman on active duty. Today, Brigadier General Vaught is President Emeritus of the Military Women's Memorial, stepping down on January 1st, 2016, after 29 years in the position. Under her leadership, the nonprofit foundation built and operates this extraordinary women's memorial we're in today, and we call it the house that Wilma built. Don't even sit down there, Chief Master Sergeant. Come on down. Retired Air Force Chief Master Sergeant Darlito Lumpkin. Chief Master Sergeant Lumpkin served from 1966 to 1993. An Air Force medic, she served in medical and surgical nursing units, primary, pediatric, and OBGYN clinics, and the emergency room, from staff to supervisory positions, including assistant superintendent. She served as the Air Force Surgeon General's chief enlisted manager, the first female and first African American to do so, and retired as the medical service manager for the Air Force Nurse Corps, two influential and pivotal positions. She went on to work for the government following her military retirement, ending with a combined 46 years of service to our nation. Today, Chief Lumpkin volunteers with her church, arranging transportation for residents at local nursing and rehab centers, and she volunteered at a local soup kitchen until that location was closed due to lack of funding. So I would guess, steer clear, because exception afterwards, she may be finding somebody that can help open that soup kitchen again. Thank you, Chief Lumpkin, for your service to the nation. Retired United States Coast Guard Captain Beverly Kelly. Captain Kelly served from 1976 to 2006. Captain Kelly is a Coast Guard icon. Coast Guard first assigned. I need another microphone. She was one of the two female officers selected for deck. For all of you in the military, you know how you do the after action reviews? What do you think is going to be top on the list? Okay. Captain Kelly is a Coast Guard icon. The Coast Guard first assigned women to sea. She was one of two female officers. Stick with it, right? That's what you say, right? Soldier on. She was one of the two female officers selected for deck watch officers on the Coast Guard cutter Morgenthau. She was the first woman to command a U.S. military vessel when she took command of Coast Guard cutter Cape Newigin. She was also the first woman to command both a medium endurance cutter and a high endurance cutter. Besides command at sea, Captain Kelly served in a variety of positions onshore in environmental protection, Coast Guard operations, marine safety, human resources, and international affairs. And since retiring, she has been actively involved with her community and local schools, joining the PTA and other organizations. She was elected to a seat on the County Board of Education in 2011 and served in that capacity until 2010. Thank you, Captain Kelly, for leading the way and for your service. And last, but certainly not least, is retired United States Coast Guard Port Security Chief Petty Officer, Sandra Mitten. Chief Petty Officer Sandra Mitten is our very own Gulf War Granny. Yes, I said it. Gulf War Granny. She first served in the Navy from 1959 to 1961 and later served in the Coast Guard Reserve from 1974 to 2001. A combat veteran at the age of 49, she was named Gulf War Granny for her service in Operation Desert Shield and Storm at the port of Dammam, Saudi Arabia, where she was the leading petty officer for the women. Get this. She was a gunner on a 50 caliber machine gun This was the first Coast Guard Reserve unit ever to be activated, and they definitely saw some service. Following the war, Chief Petty Officer Mitten represented the Coast Guard at the National Veterans Day ceremony. She also has a statue in her image titled Grandma Gunner at the Veterans Museum in Madison, Wisconsin. Chief Mitten remains active in our community and with veterans. Thank you so much, Chief Petty Officer Mitten, for your service. Thanks to all of you for joining us on this day for the very first Women Veterans Appreciation Day. Use that hashtag, please. It's up there. Steal that. Your very presence here today demonstrates your appreciation for military women. So on behalf of my fellow sisters in service, I say thank you. We truly appreciate you appreciating us. And now that the brooch has been unveiled and gifted to the first recipients, you too can show your pride as a military woman or your appreciation for a military woman. Brooches are available for sale exclusively in the Military Women's Memorial gift shop and online. Please join us in the gallery for the reception. And again, I encourage you to meet our women of valor and to take the opportunity to visit our newest exhibits here in the memorial. The Color of Freedom, honoring the diversity of America's servicewomen, was unveiled in March to kick off Women's History Month. And our newest exhibit, Summer with the Arts, Healing, Family, Freedom, is a collaboration with 3 veteran-centric nonprofit organizations, Uniting Us, Community Building Art Works, and the Armed Services Arts Partnership, and was made possible by our great corporate sponsor for this program, Optum Serve. Exhibiting artists are active duty and veteran service members and their families. One of the pieces on exhibit in our display was done by an 8-year-old girl, and the oldest person that did a piece of art is a World War II veteran. Most of the pieces are available for sale, and all of the proceeds, should you purchase that, goes 100% to that artist. Again, thank you for coming, and please join me in the gallery for refreshments. Thank you so much for honoring our women in service today. God bless us.